Hey, everybody. I am your host, Felipe. You're listening to the Total Basis Podcast. With me, as always, is Sean Flannery. But before I go to Sean, let me introduce you our next guest in our Build a Lineup series. It is the one, the only, Jacob Moses. Jacob, how you doing this morning?
I am good, my brothers. Thank you for the invite. I'm excited to be here this morning. Now I got to deal with Sean shit. I got to deal with him enough. Here we go. Now, but thank you for having me on. I'm ready to do this. This is a little fun exercise.
And I want you to tell people where they can find you, Jacob. I know you have your own podcast as well.
Absolutely. My guy, Leon Tompkins, LT. You can catch us in a Ball is Life group. And you can catch our podcast, The Stepback, on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, sometimes 8 o'clock, whenever we feel like it's somewhere over in that little zone. We'll do it.
Window.
But yeah, somewhere in that little window where we talk about all things basketball, how much the Bulls suck, how much the Knicks are doing well. Go
They have like
That's right.
And if I heard correctly, you guys have a pretty cool guest coming on, right?
Yes, sir. We got New Jersey net great Kenny Anderson, Queens get the money, native Queens legend, left rack stand up. I can't wait to have him on, but I'm just honored that he would even respond to even do it. So I'm pretty hyped up about that. You can catch us Wednesday at 7. Hopefully everybody can join in, get your questions in because we want to, take advantage of this huge moment because it's pretty big, especially for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. When I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm definitely having to tune in to see that because I'm excited for it.
I have to ask, Jacob, how did you get Kenny Anderson? Are you able to share details on that? How you able to get?
It was just doing a little marketing. I was like, Kenny Anderson. I knew who Kenny Anderson was. Like growing up in Queens, I knew exactly who he was. And I knew his story, had a whole bunch of stuff going on after basketball, getting into some things, personal things. I was like, I'm going to reach out to this guy because I want to see what's going on, how he's feeling now. And I just messaged him on Twitter and he messaged back. It was during the football season, during the Jet game. See, I had a lot of time. But yeah, I messaged him. I was like, hey, me and my brother Leon, we would love to have you on our Stepback podcast and to see what you're up to. Just talk about basketball, shoot the shit. And he was like, absolutely, I would want to do it. And it kind of set me back. And I'm like, what? He really answered? So it's just the luck of a draw. Like, you just don't know. I mean, hey, does it hurt to try?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to try. It doesn't hurt to try. What is it? You're not in it. You can only win it if you're in it. So great job there, Jacob. Wow, that's very bold of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I know this is not going to be our first time having guests in these life group podcasts. I know we had Buck Backwell before, and
that was interesting.
that was great. I'm sorry. Anybody remember that number?
It's in that video, man. You guys go to Wrestling Life.
Oh man,
find that video. Just type in Buff Bagwell, and he should.
It's on YouTube as well.
Oh yeah, and on YouTube and under our life group podcast flag. So yeah, go check out that crazy zany video.
Catch him at his mailbox.
Sorry, what was that?
Catch him at his mailbox.
Catch him at his mailbox. He's waiting for a fight. So, we're in a fight. This is a triple threat match between Jacob and Sean. And before I go, Sean, how you doing this morning?
I'm awesome. I'm just woke up, but I'm ready to go.
Awesome. Well, let's get going. As you guys know, we've been doing the Build a Lineup series. We take 6 teams, and we have brought in a special guest every week. Last week, we had Leon Tompkins, who is the other, like Jacob mentioned, he's the other half of the Stepback podcast. So you guys see a trend here as I figure I invited Leon. Let's just invite Jacob and have the 3 Mets fans on this show. Because, I love me some Mets players for fantasy and real baseball related instances. And this is part of it. So without further ado, like I said, we get to 6 teams, right? So this week, it's the Mariners, the Mets, the Giants, the Cubs, the Padres, and the Rockies. And Jacob, Sean, and I, we try to build our best lineup that we can from those 6 rosters. So let me know if you guys can see my screen here as I share the big spreadsheet. Yep.
Yes, sir.
And this week, I went ahead and highlighted Jacob DeGrom because Jacob Moses, as you can see, Jacob's Jokers, had the first pick this week. So number 1 pick overall, the Mets fan gets the guy, the number 1 Mets player. How do you feel about that, Jacob?
I feel great. Anytime I can get the best pitcher in baseball, I have no problem with doing so. You know what you're going to get out of Jake. plus, over 10 wins, should be 20 each year, but you want to get a lot of strikeouts. Strikeout walk ratio is always good. He puts in the work, gets his innings, and I'm ecstatic, man. It was good to start it off with him.
That's a very good start. You can't do better than that. I mean, this was a pretty top-heavy, deep starting pitching selection, but Jacob deGrom was like the clear number one, the one of ones. I guess the only thing we have to ask Sean here is, it seems like a dumb question, but it's an ebb and flow to professional sports. We see it in football, we see it in basketball, we definitely see it in baseball, where 1 year you're at top of the list of pitchers, and the next year you're somewhere middle tier, especially with the starting pitchers list always being so volatile. Sean, is Jacob deGrom still the number one pitcher, and do you see him finishing as a number one pitcher at the end of 2021?
Yeah, I could very well still see that. He's one guy I'm not worried about when it comes to the innings limits that we're likely to see in baseball throughout this year. I mean, even guys that are going to be stalwarts, the aces of their team, I wouldn't be shocked if they throw 175 innings. Walker Buehler, I mean, is still young, and he's still barely thrown, I think, more than 160 in a year. And then coming off the short season, you have some teams like the Mariners, who is in our lineup today. They're going to a 6-man rotation. I think we're going to see a lot of teams go to a 6-man rotation, whether for the full season, if they have enough depth for it, or throughout maybe the middle months, the dog days of summer, and then try and transition back. In that transition, going to pitching every 5th day instead of, every 6th day, that could mess up a lot of starters. So it's a balance where these organizations are going to have to manage the health and the productivity of their starters. Jacob deGrom, I think they're going to stick with a 5-man rotation. I think they have the depth to do it. Noah Syndergaard come back in early June, late May, possibly. I think Jacob deGrom is going to be the guy that's there the whole year, though. And we know what he is. He's a proven commodity.
And then you went with Yu Darvish. But before we get to Yu Darvish, with your pick, Sean, you spoke of 6-man rotations. Right now, according to Roster Resource, my Chicago Cubs, are also on a 6-man rotation after they had signed Jake Arrieta. Now, let me ask you both. Let me ask you both, gentlemen. Jacob, starting with you. If you knew that Jake Arrieta was available for these 6 teams, would you have picked him up on your team? Yes or no?
I would have to go no, because his downtrend it just didn't look too good.
Yeah.
So I would elsewhere. I don't see it for your Cubs, man. I don't know why they must have been desperate. There must have been nobody in your farm system.
Well, I mean, their starting pitching staff last time I looked was looking rough.
Man, talk about decimated.
Albert Alzolay was like SP number 4. I can't even remember who was SP number 5.
He's so I think Sean would also not take Jake Arrieta if you were available.
I would still take my prospect that I picked, who we'll talk about later.
So Trevor
Williams was in there. God.
So here it is. It's Kyle Hendricks at the top, which okay. You want to rebuild? You want to get rid of Yu Darvish, who we're going to get to in a little bit because Sean just picked them up. Mm-hmm. You want to get rid of him? That's fine. You bring in Zach Davies, who's just another a clone of Kyle Hendricks, but not as good. That's fine. Alec Mills, and then you bring in Trevor Williams, and like Sean mentioned, Advert Alzolay as your long-term project at the number 5 spot. That's fine. You want to rebuild. And then they bring in Jake Arrieta, and I don't understand. I thought they were trying to rebuild, and now they're bringing in a guy who, how much was he? $8 million or
something? 6.5 or 8, something like that.
I don't get it. I thought they were trying to quit. Is this a sentimental signing here? And I mean, it's like they want to rebuild, but they don't want to rebuild all the way through because they keep signing all these players that should be probably on good teams providing depth, like Jock Peterson should be with the Tampa Bay Rays right now, for example. I don't know. And I don't know.
I thought St. Louis was a good fit for him.
Yeah.
So, Peterson?
Yeah. Or the Angels.
Outfielders, though, don't they? They have a million outfielders out there.
Yeah, but none of them are really good. Harrison Bader can field, but he can't hit. Tyler O'Neill can hit for power, but he can't hit the ball. And what was the other guy?
Though.
Lane Thomas.
Yeah,
he's a 4th outfielder. Dexter Fowler they finally got rid of.
I mean, Well, before you go on, Sean, this is why. When you see all these projections, and it's on paper, just on first glance, you look at these 5 teams in the NL Central, and you see that the Cardinals should be automatically winning that division. And then Sean goes, well, yeah, but their outfielders suck, though, so they're not very good. And this is why you see. I
mean, defensively, it's a good outfield. So, like, if you're going to be good at something, you might as well be good at defense.
They got defensive speed.
Oh, yeah, Dylan Carlson. That was the other outfielder. I'm sorry. Top prospect.
Yeah. So, they're top prospect. They're all bad. And this is why we saw Dakota projections saying that the Cardinals are not going to win the Central and that it should be either the Brewers or the Cubs with the Brewers at the top spot. And I've seen other projections where it's a lot closer than many people like to admit to it. So we'll see. But it's like the Cubs are like in that middle of the road. Like, should we compete? Should we not compete? We're still signing some players here and there. But I don't know. It's just so confusing. Well, anyway, I
don't want to get on a tangent about the Cardinals, but I've just pulled up their roster resource, and they're 5 through 9 or 5 through 8 in the lineup. Nobody has a projected on base higher than 318, and the highest slugging is 438. And that includes all 3 of their outfielders and Yadier Molina.
See? So there's a chance for the Cubs to sneak in with Jake Arrieta as your Game 2 starter in the playoffs this upcoming postseason.
I promise I'm not laughing.
Yeah. So now we go back to you, Darvish, former Cub, who, if he were on this team, I'd feel a lot more comfortable about the 2021 prospect season or projected season. But I'm just kind of left scratching my head after they traded him to the Padres. And the Padres look very good in that rotation. Is there any little tidbit that we should know about you, Darvish, before we move on? Because, I mean, he's also a known commodity as well.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of 2019, he had that stretch of really till, June, where he had a walk per 9, like over 4.5 or 5. And then it just like on the flip of a dime, command was there. He was striking out 11K per 9, and he was just dominant. And that carried over into 2020, in which, the 2020 NL Cy Young was really any man's trophy this year. It could have gone to Darvish. It could have gone to DeGrom. It could have gone to Bauer. Darvish, I think, actually led all of the National League in Fangraphs WAR. So kudos to him for that. But with Jacob deGrom off the board, I'm skeptical of both Dinelson Lamet, who you ended up picking. I'm skeptical of his health and his overall arsenal and how it profiles as an ace. Blake Snell is another guy who I thought was a bit risky, so that's why I went with you, Darvish.
Yeah, and I wasn't too happy with the Blake Snell, Dinelson Lamet back-to-backs. But considering, like I said, it's very top heavy at the, with Jacob deGrom having his own couple 2 tiers at the top, and then you Darvish, and then it's just a mixed bag of what could be good to great pitchers, but they have so many question marks. Even Blake Snell, as much as people like to feel sorry for him for being yanked out in that game against the Dodgers last year, I mean, that was more of an anomaly of him having a really good performance in that playoff game. Game 6 of the World Series, as opposed to what kind of season he had. I mean, the strikeouts were there, but he also came in with a FIP of 4.35 for the Rays last year. He also struggled a bit. He also kept failing to go more than 5 innings in a lot of his starts. So it's a lot of worries there. But he is a former Cy Young candidate, and compared to everybody else, he seemed to be the best pitcher that was available to me. So I went ahead and grabbed him. And then I went with Dinelson Lamet, who you mentioned, who I like a lot. There is a lot to be desired for. There's still a little bit of command issues that I have problems with, but when he's on his A game, he's very hard to, you sometimes can't do better than Dinelson Lamet when he's on his A game. So, and he's with a really good Padres team. So the wins, the strikeouts, they're all going to be there, I believe. So, and then we went ahead. So we went 4 consecutive San Diego Padres pitchers here. And with you picking Chris Paddock, who's listed as a number 5.
Yeah, I think they're going to have a pretty good pitching staff, don't you think?
Yeah, little bit. I don't know if the Dodgers good, but I mean, Chris Paddock is your number 5 starter for the Padres. That's crazy to think that your number 1 most established pitching prospect is now your number 5 starter after all these moves were made.
And that's not even taking into account Mackenzie Gore.
And Mackenzie
Gore is the bona fide top pitching prospect in all of baseball.
Yeah,
and now has no, and he's pitched in AA and AAA, and now he has nowhere to go because he's completely blocked. It's crazy.
Yeah. And you saw the give away Luis Patino as well, who we mentioned in our first episode of this series with the Tampa Bay Rays. So Chris Paddock still has a deadly changeup, considered one of the best in the game. But what's holding him from, besides the names on the roster there, Shark? What's holding him back from being like a top of the rotation starting pitcher here?
Well, like you said, he always will have that great changeup. In 2020, what we fell into a lot of issues with Chris Paddock is the walks were still, well in line. He's a very good command pitcher. I believe on one of the episodes here recently, we actually went back and looked at his minor league numbers, and the seasons he put up in the minor leagues, his walk to strikeouts was like historically good. Like him, Shane Bieber, and one or two other guys in the minor leagues had the best years for walks and strikeouts. But his fastball took a step back. And when he's not locating that fastball, it gets hard. It gets hit very hard. He had a 1.67 home runs per 9 over the last 2 seasons. And when he just has those 2 pitches, he came into spring training in 2020 before he got shut down, and everyone was talking about this new curveball he was throwing. And it ended up to be much ado about nothing. He barely threw it. When he did, it just looked kind of loopy. It wasn't very good. So until he gets a, bona fide third pitch, I don't like him as my number 2 on this team. I probably could have picked Hendricks above him just on merit alone.
Yeah.
But I think Paddock gets you more strikeouts. He protects you just as much in walks and your ratios for WHIP, but he is going to have a higher ERA.
I got to ask you, who Daniel Samek, what fan is he of? Do you know?
He's a Braves fan.
Oh, okay, that explains it. I know he's a friend of yours. I couldn't remember which team he roots for. So I'm just laughing at these comments. Blake Snell is the best pitcher in the league at Playing MLB The Show. So there you go.
He did win the MLB Players League.
Of course he did.
Yeah. He ran through them like hot knife through butter.
Yeah, kind of making up for the fact that he gave the World Series away, right? So, moving on to Marcus Stroman as Jacob goes back-to-back Mets. Actually, back-to-back Mets. He's picking all the pitchers here. Yeah. Marcus Stroman and Carlos Carrasco back-to-back for Jacob. Tell me what you like about those 2 guys right there, Jake.
You're gonna get, especially with Stroman, you're gonna get the innings. And I mean, Sean went back and forth. He's like, "Oh, Trevor Bauer." Trevor Bauer honestly wasn't that much better than, besides his 2020, wasn't that much better than Marcus Stroman. Let's be real. Stroman's gonna get you the innings. He had a year off, so he should be pitching a lot this year. And also, he can be a strikeout guy. He'll get you the strikeouts, what you need. He doesn't walk many, and plus I know this doesn't count to anything, but he's fiery on the mound. He gets me going when he gets on the mound, and he's going to compete. Not the biggest guy, but hey, he can still pitch. 3 good pitches, his fastball, changeup, his slider, he's getting there. And with Carrasco, it's another top of the line guy. He was the one pretty much after Bieber. Mm-hmm. He was solid. He'll get you. I'm big on ERA, really big on it. He'll get you, he can stay in the low to mid 3s, which we're going to need. Plus Citi Field, still a pitcher's ballpark. He's going to stay there. He's another strikeout pitcher as well. And with my catcher, James McCann, I think he's going to do pretty well. So I like them both.
I've always liked Carlos Carrasco. It's a damn shame what happened to his career as I feel like he had so much promise, and then was it last year or 2 years ago that he succumbed to chemotherapy and cancer, I believe, leukemia, I believe.
Yep.
And he fought his way back, and we'll see what happens in New York. Like you said,
I think he is one of the most underrated pitchers of the last 5 or 6 years, because in his heyday was also Corey Kluber's heyday. Yep. And I don't think people realize that if you go back and you look at the top pitching rankings from like 2014 to 2018 in terms of Fangraphs WAR, he is right there at number 7 between 2014 and 2018. The only people in front of him, Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, Corey Kluber, Chris Sale, Jacob deGrom, and Justin Verlander. That's it. Those are the only, and he has a
Right
lower ERA than Verlander over that time period. So, I mean, he was elite, higher than Steven Strasburg, higher than David Price, higher than Jake Arrieta. People slept on Carlos Carrasco because he wasn't the best pitcher on his team. He was really, really good. I mean, insanely good. Okay, over 10 per 9, walks barely over 2, wasn't giving up that many home runs. Now the stuff is a little bit diminished. He gives up more home runs, but the strikeouts are still there. He's got an absolutely wicked curveball. I love the Carrasco pick. If Jacob didn't pick him, I was going to pick him up.
Yeah. The only other concern for him is that he'll be 34 when the season starts. So, and again, he's still recovering from all his ailments, and that's well. I mean, if you're able to get Carlos Carrasco, I'm pretty sure you'll get him at a very deep discount.
Yeah. Compared to prior years.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to Kyle Hendricks. Well, this is a very interesting pick because he's now the ace of the pitching staff on a really tumultuous team. Sean, I'm pretty sure you picked him just based on his track record, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think people it's so funny when you look at Kyle Hendricks projections, like anywhere, any of the ones on Fangraphs, they always expect him to come out with some like 4.5 or 4.1 ERA. And it's like, since 2015, the highest his ERA has been is 3.95. And he's had 2 years of under 3, well under 3, and then 2 right at 3 and a couple at 3.4. He is just a master of limiting hard contact, the master of weak contact. I said this in a group chat not that long ago, and I basically said Mike Soroka's 90% outcome is what Kyle Hendricks is now. And I thought that was a pretty good comp. Kyle Hendricks very much could be trade bait this year. He is on a team-friendly deal. The Cubs are looking like they want to dismantle, but like you said, they can't make up their mind about it. But if at the deadline they're out of contention, Hendricks is very one of those guys that could get moved.
Sorry guys, I got distracted. My wife sent me a video right now, and I don't know. For some reason, I felt like I had to see it. I just missed my baby taking her first crawling steps forward.
Oh man!
Yeah.
Bring her onto the show. She can do it on the show.
Well, these are the sacrifices we make, right? The love of baseball. Wow, and she's been trying for months now, and I think she finally got the gist of it. So.
Oh yeah, it starts to get fun.
Yeah, she's been crawling backwards, by the way. So
now that's where they start. Yes, they start backward. They start rocking, going backwards, then forward starts, and then it's over, Felipe.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, Kevin Gossman. Oh, by the way, I want to say a quick hello to Corey Richmond, who's listening, and giving a big shout out to Jacob for bringing in Kenny Anderson to the Stepback Basketball Podcast. Thought I'd throw that out there. And you can listen to Corey Richmond on his podcast Thursday nights over at Wrestling Life, the World Street Podcast. I don't know what's going on in wrestling anymore. I'm lost, but that's why I have Corey Richmond tell me where to go and what to see and what to look for. Kevin Gossman, he's a guy that I really liked coming into last year. I believe I ended up having him in all my teams last year. And I figure we might as well have him on this team as well, because one of the rules that we have here, guys, as you guys saw me time and time again tell you, make sure that every team is represented. So I got my Giants pick out of the way, but this one's a solid one. I thought he had a wonderful year last year. Held his own against tough competition like the Padres and the Dodgers. There was one game against the Dodgers where I forgot who he was pitching against, but I remember that he did not get torched like all the other teams were getting torched by the Dodgers. So I saw that as a good sign. He'll be pitching in San Francisco, which
he gave up 5 runs instead of 9 runs. We're so proud of him.
I could have sworn he only gave up like a run and struck out like 10 guys.
I think I remember the start as well.
Something crazy like that, and that's when I knew, like, yep, this is my guy. I know there was a little hiccup at the end. I think he got hurt, elbows. I don't know. I forgot. 2020 seems like a decade ago at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But Gossman is back with San Francisco in that very pitching friendly ballpark. So I can't believe. Well, when you have a bunch of Mets fans on, they're gonna skip on it. Oops, wrong thing. Okay, so next up, Noah Syndergaard, and why are you picking Noah Syndergaard? Well, it's because I got 2 other Mets fans on this.
Of course you did.
On this little experiment here, this little exercise, and As you guys saw, even in the other league, in our Fantrax league, the Baseball Life Fantasy Baseball League, I made sure to pick up Noah Syndergaard as quickly as possible because there's a lot of Mets fans in that one. So I'm very proud of myself. Eh?
Oh yeah, the draft that you were living rent free in my head. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, don't even remind me.
A call back to season 1. Good job, Sean. Yeah, we go by seasons. Welcome to season 2 of the Total Basis podcast. Good callback. But Syndergaard is always a guy I've been enamored with. I've loved this kid. He's about to be 30. But I love this guy since forever now. I've been keeping tabs on him, and anytime I can get him on my team, I'm always trying to get him on my team. And this one is no different, as I'm hoping that he will have a what would you say, Sean? Maybe by a May 1st start?
Possibly. They kept saying June, but then they said ahead of schedule before saying that it's probably June. But I'm expecting mid-May. I'm expecting him to make his return, and it might be a little coincidental, but it might come at the same time, almost to the day of his major league debut, which was also against the Cubs in mid-May.
Oh, that would be very poetic. Very, what do you call it? Serendipitous here.
Yes.
Also, before I move forward to Sean's pick of German Marquez, just letting you guys know that I am, it's Valentine's Day, and I am drinking some of Henry's Coquito here. So,
hey.
My wife told me that might as well drink up before I go shovel snow because I did not get a chance to do it yesterday. So it's gonna be a long day for me. Anyway, German Marquez, your Rockies representative, but he's a good one, right, Sean? He's still good.
He's a good one. He is just he's a Colorado Rockies starting pitcher. So, you run into some issues, obviously. Yeah. In 2020, it was just another microcosm of his entire career, essentially. In 43 innings on the road, German Marquez had a 201 batting average against, 257 on base against, 335 slugging, which was good for a 2.06 ERA. At home, at Coors Field, his ERA was over 5.5, and hitters batted 300 against him. But I'll give him credit for this. They only slugged 414, which isn't crazy high for Coors Field. But for his career, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. He has a 3.5 ERA on the road, over 5 at home. So he's a guy in a weekly league that if you see him pitching on the road, I plug him in. If I see him pitching at home, I try and find somebody else. Okay, the Rockies are trading people. They need to trade German Marquez.
Yes.
If they trade German Marquez, I have several shares in several leagues. I'd be ecstatic. And he's a very good pitcher. He's got one of the best breaking pitches in baseball. He's got a good fastball. It's not great. It probably could be better. He has good command for someone who kind of throws the ball as hard as he does. And the delivery is a little high effort, but he's never posted a walks per 9 higher than 2.7. So that's pretty good. I really like him, but he just needs to get the hell out of Colorado.
Quick question for you, Sean, as Corey, again, from the wrestling podcast, the Work Shoot podcast, has a question about COVID. It's COVID related. With the shortened or stopped season because of COVID, how would you handle scoring this season in fantasy leagues? Same as last year with roto category system. I don't know. Would you take a crack at that one, Sean?
I know in our 30 team that Jacob Moses has now joined us in. Best of luck to him. I will crush you. We went from a daily points where you could plug in whoever, because obviously we couldn't get 30 matchups in a 7.5 week season. But this year we're going back to our old rules. We've seen the NFL play a full season. We're seeing the NBA get about halfway through their full season. I'm not expecting MLBs to be shortened. There might be some games not played because it doesn't matter in the end, possibly. But I think we handle this as business as usual in terms of scoring. That's what we're going back to.
Yeah, that's what I would think too. Maybe add a couple more injury
IR slots. Yeah,
IR slots. Yeah. Sorry. Even then, I mean, I know in our league, Sean, we added like a bunch last year, and I feel like that's too much. But I know with COVID, it makes everything unpredictable, but we'll see. I think Sean and I, we still have to hash out our rules for the upcoming season. So, but yeah, I think there, I mean, like I said, there's going to be more tracking according to Major League Baseball. There's going to be more stricter protocols. And I think teams seeing that, these players seeing how serious this stuff is, they're not going to be tempted to go to casinos or to the Ozarks or to water parks or bars in states or strip clubs. Yeah, you get those chicken wings. So at least that's the hope, right? That's the hope. Henry wanted to remark about Hendricks, Kyle Hendricks. Henry, you can listen to him on Dong City next Monday. They just had their episode this past Monday. I still say they should go every week, man. The baseball offseason is just bananas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that's just me. What scares me about Hendricks, Henry says, is where he slots and he's going up against other aces. It is what it is, right, Sean? I mean, at least he'll be among the healthier options among the so-called aces, right?
Yeah, I mean, he will, and he's probably the most consistent in terms of making his starts, getting his innings. I mean, the only thing with Hendricks is when you pick him in fantasy, you're not picking him for the strikeouts. You got to find somebody else down the line to pick up you some strikeouts. But in terms of ERA and WHIP, I mean, there's not many pitchers better than him and consistent as him.
And if you're in a points league, I mean, those innings, they add up to points as well. So, all right, we go to Jacob now. Zach Davies, Marco Gonzalez, a couple of pitch to contact pitchers. After picking Jacob deGrom and Carlos Carrasco, you went on a different approach. Why the difference in approach there, Sean? Jacob?
That's the only ones I can really think of. let's keep it real. No, but Zach Davies I like because I like guys that throw sinkers consistently, and he's a sinker changeup kind of guy, and it actually helped him, and I believe it bumped up his strikeout ratio when he went to the Padres, and he looked good. I mean, his FIP was the best of his career. Look at me using those damn metrics.
Look at you. We're rubbing off.
a little bit. No, but actually the best of his career. Strikeouts went up. Like I said, pitch to contact, and I like him. Zach Davies, he really turned his career around. Honestly, I picked up on it. And Marcos Gonzalez, that was the best pitcher on the Mariners staff. I mean, his ERA, he kept it under 4 for being what he was. So I was like, it was either him or I was going to go with Dunn. But wow. I was like, no, let me just pick up the more sure thing. I know I'm going to get, innings out of him. His strikeouts will be okay. Like I said, his ERA won't be ballooned, but Marcos Gonzalez, I'm not going to lie. That I didn't know too much. I knew about him, but not that much to go. Yay, Marco Gonzalez.
Marco Gonzalez is a hidden little gem, I think, that people are starting to pick up on in fantasy. Because not only are, his metrics, like WAR is pretty good. Like over the last 3 seasons since 2018, he's been a 9.2 WAR pitcher. That's solid. That's a little over 3 WAR a year. But also over that same time span, and this is what kind of propelled him onto draft boards. I see you sipping on that Coquito, Felipe. In 2019, he won 16 games. Yeah. And obviously, the pitcher win is starting to lose value by the minute. But in a roto league, I mean, a win is a win, and he had 16 of them out of 34 starts. I mean, he doesn't get you strikeouts. He's very much like Kyle Hendricks in that regard.
I was just going to ask you that. Is he the left-handed version of Kyle Hendricks?
Yeah, I would say so. I think Hendricks' results are a little bit more believable in terms of, inducing the weak contact, keeping it on the ground. Marco Gonzalez has seen his ground ball percentage go down about 4.5 points every single year since 2018. So he's relying more and more on fly ball outs, but they got a young outfield out there, some guy named Jared Kalenic. I don't know. Who is he?
My guy.
Yeah.
That's another guy.
Kyle Lewis. They got a speedy little outfield. Their defense should be good. Marco Gonzalez, like I said, he's the hidden pearl in this very top-heavy pitching draft class we had to pick from.
Next up is Logan Gilbert. I'm assuming he's with the Padres, right, Sean?
No, he is with the Mariners. He is one of the Mariners. Him and George Kirby, depending on who you ask, are the top pitching prospects for the Seattle Mariners. Gilbert is a little bit closer. He's one of those guys who we talked about before with extremely good command. He could debut this year up in the at the alternate site in 2020. There were rumors that he had jumped up from throwing like 91 to 93, and he's a big guy. He's 6'6", 220. Cam Newton 6'6", 230. Oh god, I can't even. Oh god. Anyway, yeah, he was hitting like 95 consistently and topping out at 97, and he's never posted a walks per nine higher than 2.7. Great command guy, never posted an ERA in the threes so far. 2019 was his first full year, and he threw 130 plus innings. So I dig it. I think he's going to be the guy who makes his debut the soonest and kicks some bum like Justin Dunn to the bullpen.
Wow. Why you got to say all that?
Moving on to Joe Musgrove. Joe Musgrove is a guy that kind of came onto the scene late last season, I feel like. But when he did come on, he kind of surprised a lot of people and surprised them enough where a lot of the experts are moving him up the rankings, especially after he got traded to the Padres. So consider me buying into the Joe Musgrove train. Quickly, from here, we moved on to outfield, right? We decided to just go outfield, or I decided to go outfield because I had the choice to do so.
Or we went to, outfield.
And with my back-to-back pick, I ended up going with Michael Conforto because, again, first of all, I think he is the best outfielder in this group and with these teams. But I also know that if I let Conforto go to the two Mets fans, they're going to be
It's over.
cat fighting it out amongst themselves.
We were already cat fighting over Brandon Nimmo.
Absolutely.
So. Conforto had a breakout of sorts in, 2019 or even maybe 2020. But it seems like he has finally clicked after showing so much promise early on in his career. So I want to be on that Michael Conforto peak or prime years of his career. I want to be in the middle of it right now. Mike Yastrzemski, MVP candidate from last year for the Giants, went to Sean. Any quick tidbit about Mike Yastrzemski?
So yeah, of all center fielders in 2020, they were led by a guy named Mike in Fangraphs War, and not that bum in LA. It was Mike Yastrzemski. Mike Yastrzemski led all center fielders in Fangraphs War last year. He was second overall in all outfielders. The only person that beat him was Mookie Betts at 3. Mike Yastrzemski's 2.6. He had a 400 on base percentage, 568 slugging, 159 WRC plus, which was actually 10 points ahead of Mookie Betts. And only 3 points behind the venerable Mike Trout. So Yaz Jr. is getting slept on. They need to stop doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yaz Jr. That's his grandfather, man. What, Yaz the third? And then Jacob going back to back here with Charlie Blackmon and Brandon Nimmo.
Gosh damn it, Charlie Cobb Blackmon living up to his damn middle name, killing it. No, Charlie Blackmon I've always liked. He hits for a decent average. Get you power. He actually drove in 42 runs last year. I could have sworn he's still bases, but I must be losing my mind.
No, he stopped running. He used to be like a 20-30 stolen base.
That's what I thought.
In 2019, he just stopped running. He's slow as hell.
I don't know what happened, but yeah, plus playing in Colorado, you can't really go wrong with that. Charlie Blackmon, he gets it done. He's going to be a huge part in that lineup, obviously. No Daniel Murphy, no Arenado, Henry's guy. But no. Yeah, it's just going to be him, but I still think he's going to produce. Brandon Nimmo, what can you say? Me and Sean's guy, we've been high on him, begging for the Mets to finally bring him up, give him the playing time. What's Sean's favorite thing? OBP, and that's what Brandon Nimmo does. He gets on base. He can. I wish he would run more, to be honest, because it's not like he's slow out there. He can swipe, 15 or 20 if he wanted to.
He works so hard to get on base. He just doesn't want to give it away for a 70% stolen base rate. Come on now.
He's good for like 8 to 9 pitches per at bat for him.
Yep.
And plus the smile, man. He's always happy. I call him God Lead Nimmo for a reason. He's straight out of Mayberry. I mean, you cannot get any better than Brandon Nimmo. But yeah, he's good. And for fantasy purposes, it's somebody you're going to want because he walks a lot as well. So plus give him that on a full-time basis, and we'll see what happens. But I think he'll do well.
Moving on to Trent Grisham. I know that's one of Sean's guy. He's been hyping him up since season 1 of this podcast. And I'm assuming you're expecting more of the same for Trent Grisham, right, Sean?
Yes, as Jacob said, I wish Brandon Nimmo would run a little bit more. Well, you know who Brandon Nimmo is that runs a little bit more? His name's Trent Grisham.
Yep.
He had 10 home runs, 10 stolen bases, 12.3 walk percentage, which is, slightly behind Nimmo's at 14.7. He got off to a really hot start, was batting around like 290, 300, and then kind of tailed off in the second half of the year, which brought the overall numbers down. Tatis kind of went through the same thing. They both got moved down the lineup because of it. But Trent Grisham's got a great skill set. His defense is going to keep him in the game no matter what. He draws his walks. He hits for power. He steals bases. So basically, he's Brandon Nimmo that steals. So when Jacob took Brandon Nimmo, I said, thank you very much. You're allowing me to get the better person anyway. So
Ian Happ went after that to my team, along with Jared Kelenic, who you just mentioned. Jared Kelenic is someone I draft in all my leagues, especially in my keeper and mostly keeper leagues. But yeah, if there's a minor league slots that I can hide him into, I will definitely pick Jared Kelenic, and he's getting closer and closer to getting called up. So I'm definitely, if I'm in yearly leagues, I'm definitely moving him up my draft sheet and make sure that he ends up on my team. Because once he becomes available and he gets called up by the Mariners, which I feel like that's going to happen sooner rather than later, he's going to be a hot commodity, and you're going to miss out on what could be a very special player. Ian Happ is a former first-round pick. Looks like he's finally coming onto his own. Still strikes out too much, but the walk rate went back up to 13% in a shortened season. Hoping more of the same for him next year, and hoping for him to continue giving us high on-base percentages.
You know who he reminds me of?
Michael Conforto.
Max Muncy.
Oh,
Wow.
well, that'd be fantastic.
I feel that there's a big Max Muncy vibe with Ian Happ.
I like that one.
And I'm in a 15-team OBP league, that relegation league I was just talking about. It's a lot of the names I've just mentioned here: Brandon Nimmo, Ian Happ, Michael Conforto, all guys I've picked. So I'm really excited for Happ. Felipe, in the Baseball Life League, do you have Jared Kelenic as one of your minor leaguers?
Yeah, I do, man.
Okay, that's what I thought. I knew I hated you for a reason.
Oh man, I do my homework, man. You got to be like 3 steps ahead of me.
Yeah. But yeah, in 2019, he jumped 3 levels. Kelenic did, all the way from low A to double A. Posted an OPS over 900, 23 home runs, 20 stolen bases. Yeah, Jacob, I'm right there with you, man. Like, at the time, it wasn't a bad deal. This guy had never played a game above rookie ball. I mean, he hadn't played one, but it's a tough pill to swallow now for a Mets fan. So it's a hard knock life.
Come on, PCA.
Long and hard.
Come on, PCA.
As long as Edwin Diaz records a strikeout for the last out while we win a World Series, it's worth it.
It's fine. It's worth it.
Speaking of which, we stay with the Mariners. Sean goes with Kyle Lewis, who I believe won the Rookie of the Year award. Is that correct?
Yes, he did. And I'm not the biggest person on Lewis. I think that strikeout rate and that swinging strike percentage is going to get him. Last year he was at 30%. In 2019, he was at 38% over just 75 plate appearances. But I do think he has a good ability to, when he does make contact, it's very good contact. So I think the power is going to be there. Obviously, he's going to play in that outfield. It is going to get crowded real fast because you have Kyle Lewis, you have Jared Kelenic, you have Julio Rodriguez, and then the forgotten man everyone's forgetting about is Taylor Trammell, the former Cincinnati Reds top prospect who went from Cincinnati to San Diego and then San Diego to Seattle now. So Kyle Lewis, it's hard to, say, the Rookie of the Year might lose his job. I don't think it's that serious yet, but he's got a good blend of power, speed. But if those strikeouts don't get under control, it could sink him. He could become like a 4th or 5th outfielder.
Then Jacob finishes up the outfielders with Austin Slater. I know I had him on my team in our Baseball Life League. He did well for me, but he was constantly hurt.
Yeah.
I guess Jacobs, you're expecting a more healthier Austin Slater for 2021.
Absolutely. You can't. The guy can hit. Plus, like I said, it's fluky injuries. His elbow, strain here, strain there. And you
Dr.
look back.
Moses over here.
Yeah, I mean, hey, but you look back at it, like even his minor league stats, he's one of those late bloomers.
Yeah.
He won't hit for power. I think his isolated power was like 200 or something like that. Um, but he could run a little bit, but his average has never been under, I believe, 290 in the minors. So you knew he could hit.
He's like a
And
Brian Reynolds. Like he's always hit. He came out of the womb hitting 300.
That's my guy too, Brian Reynolds. went over that one before, but yeah, you know what you're gonna get. The Giants actually they need every amount of help they can get. That team just, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's just all over the place. But Austin Slater, I'll say he'll hit about 10. Maybe he'll hit about 280. He might still like 5 to 10 bases, but he'll be fantasy relevant. I could see it happening.
Yeah, he's a guy that when Jacob picked him, I physically told him, I was like, that was a good pick. I like Austin Slater, and he's somebody I picked in the relegation OBP league. The thing that confuses me with him is the stolen bases. He never stole more than 8 in the minor leagues, and that was in 8 in 53 games in 2018 at AAA. And then in 2020, in only 31 games, he steals 8 bases.
See?
He had a 408 on base, which is really good. He's always walked a good bit in the minors. An issue with him that he seemed to correct this year was he's a former Stanford guy, so he had the Stanford swing, which is supposed to produce line drives all over the field, but in reality, it produces a lot of ground balls to the left side of the field if you're right-handed. He corrected that a little bit this year, hit more line drives, which is what you want to see. My only worry with Austin Slater is that he becomes the short side of a platoon with Alex Dickerson.
Yeah.
Who has been very, very good for the Giants, who you might not realize it, but since going to the Giants has been one of the best hitters in baseball. Because you have Yaz out there, you have Dickerson, and who's the third outfielder I'm thinking of in right field?
So they got Yastrzemski, Dickerson, and Mauricio Dubon.
Oh, yeah, Mauricio Dubon has to play some center field. They just need to get rid of Brandon Crawford. Let Dubon play shortstop. Jesus.
Yeah.
Give Austin Slater full-time playing time.
Just get rid of all their veterans who help win.
I'm going to start picketing outside Oracle Park or whatever the hell it's called now.
I think it's Oracle Park.
Okay.
A couple of comments from our Angels fan who is always waking up early in the morning on a Sunday to watch this show, Austin, who also agrees that he hates Felipe, but for different reasons, because I did beat him in the championship game of the newbie league last year. I mean, you're facing one of the top guys in the sport, right? But he gave a very valiant effort, so 8 for effort for him, and he also agrees on the Kyle Lewis summary there. I had Kyle Lewis on my team last year too, and like just like Austin, he ended up benching him for a majority of the second half because he was so inconsistent. So
okay, but we look at your comment. You're not going to say what your comment was. You said Luis Robert should have won Rookie of the Year. Come on, you want to talk about inconsistency? My dude can't hit a breaking ball.
They're both inconsistent. They both just
that dude was doing ballerina pirouettes trying to swing at the slider.
They both had bad second halves of last year. Both just ridiculously bad. But who ended up covering all 3 outfield positions for his own team? Okay, then.
I'm sorry that Kyle Lewis actually had some competent outfield mates.
It doesn't matter. I mean, fine, you do your job in center field, but you're not doing the job at the plate. I mean, Luis Robert also struggled. I'll admit to it. But if you're going to give 2 guys who struggle, give the edge to the guy who had to cover for both Eloy Jimenez and Omar Mazara last year. Rest my case. And Sean, we saw it with the numbers when we did the numbers last year. I think I ended up with my calculations. Luis Robert should have won the Rookie of the Year anyway, but just on statistics alone. So it doesn't really matter. But everybody likes.
I think they were real close.
No, they weren't. Anyway, if it's okay with the jury here, with everybody else, these 3 guys are known commodities. We kept going. So Jacob went Fernando Tatis Jr. Trevor Story went to Sean. I ended up getting Manny Machado. You guys are okay? Can we skip all those 3 guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And I end up with Jeff McNeil as my back-to-back.
Yeah, you left Francisco Lindor on the board.
Yeah. Fangraphs was down, which is the website I used to do this.
My crutch was removed. I'm sorry.
I like to look things up before I make decisions. So, man, logical me. So I had to go through just our generic ranking system, right? Like, all right, well, so who's a good player that I can get at middle infielder? Thinking that all the good shortstops are already taken because we saw the top of the list, right? Tatis, who's the face of baseball, Trevor Story, who still hits at course, and Manny Machado, who, he's still one of the best hitters and young players of this generation. Who's left? And for some reason, I saw Francisco Lindor, and I thought, oh, well, he's with the Indians, so he doesn't count. So naturally, I gravitated towards Jeff McNeil, and then Jacob says, well, what about Francisco Lindor? I'm like, oh, okay. So McNeil, we talked about ad nauseum before in our first episode, so we could skip him. Lindor, we know who Francisco Lindor is, going to the Mets. That's the reason I was very giddy with the Mets getting to the World Series. That was before Trevor Bauer signed with the Dodgers, so now I'm not sure anymore. And we go with now we go to the interesting pick here. Actually, we go back-to-back interesting picks with Javier Baez and Chris Bryant going to Jacob Moses.
Javi Baez, I am envisioning a Javi Baez bounce back season. That's all I was going off of it. But he's too talented to have two shitty seasons in a row. I think that's just my thinking of it. Sean is probably about to have a rebuttal. I know.
He's the Eric Hosmer. He has good year, bad year. Good year, bad year.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm kind of like.
He's got the Hosmeritis.
Wait, good year, bad year. What do tires have to do with anything?
There you go.
What about
obviously his tires are flat because he only stole 3 bases last year.
Yeah,
that might be because he had a 238 on base percentage.
Nah, he wasn't. It wasn't happening. But KB, that's always one of my favorite guys in the league. He's another one. He's in a walk year. I have a feeling he's going to turn it up now. Like seems like he's healthy, so he's gonna. I think the power will come back a little bit. Everybody says, "Oh, he's not going to be the MVP guy." The dude's not even 30 yet. I mean, give him a chance to actually bounce back.
Is Chris Bryant ever really healthy though?
No.
Coming from a Cubs fan, that's we got to get that on the air. Is he ever really healthy?
I mean, but yeah, that's another one I think that can have a really good bounce back year. But you know how players really turn it up when it's their walk year, and I think he'll do well. Maybe he's Chicago. Maybe he'll be donning the orange and blue. We'll see.
Yeah. Maybe we can get Matthew Allen in a trade.
No. Shut it down.
No.
Shut it down. Cut it out. No.
Stop it.
Before I get to Sean, I had to ask you, Jacob. So I know you like Chris Bryant a lot. He's one of your favorite players. But over Pete Alonso?
Listen.
I think that was a goof. I took advantage of all the goofs in this draft.
I did. It was a goof. I didn't think about it, honestly.
So
okay. Listen, you caught me late on this one too. I was like, Chris Bryant. All right, I'm going to sleep. All right. Either I was working or I was about to go to sleep. I would have went to Pete because we're gonna have a full season. He's gonna hit 40 bombs. He's gonna get his RBIs. But yeah, it was a goof, and we can move on now.
Well, that was like when he picked his first util spot after outfield. He picked David Fletcher. And we were like, Jacob, no, you can just pick the best player.
I was like, all right. I did it quick. I was doing something. I don't know what the hell I was doing, but thank you. Shout out to you guys for doing that.
But no, with Pete Alonso, the one thing I wanted to mention, and if you follow me on Twitter, this was something that got a little bit of traction. But in 2019, Pete Alonso had a 384 WOBA, which is really, really good. And then in 2020, everyone said, oh, he was bad. He struggled. He was doing so bad. As they just said, he was on pace for 40-plus home runs and like 99 RBIs. His WOBA in September alone was also 384. So Pete Alonso, he wasn't walking as much. He was hitting his way out of a slump, which is what we usually see hitters do when they come out of slumps. Pete Alonso was hitting the ball harder than he had in 2019, the entire month of September. I think he's one of those guys that over a 60-game season, we just didn't get to see how a full 162 would have played out because he was getting hot. And I'm one of those people. I'm going to scoop up all of the discounted Pete Alonsos, especially if he falls to about like 50, 50, 60. I'm taking him every single time. Usually he's still going in the 40s, but he's definitely a better discount than he was post 2019 when people were taking him in like the top 20.
Yeah.
Wait, go ahead.
Yeah, like in a actual real draft like this, Pete Alonso wasn't getting past me, but I won't go again. It definitely won't happen. But,
to that point, Jacob, I was also.
Hey, Felipe, something is up with your mic. Can you try it again?
Testing. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a little echoey, but we got you.
Okay, sorry. I don't know what's the deal here. I know my baby's banging on the walls in the other room. So. Well, I was going to say, to Jacob's point, I also was distracted when I was doing this. I think that's also part of the reason. Fangraphs was down, and I was also distracted. I was actually hiding from my wife to make these picks. So I guess we're even. You ended up getting Chris Bryant, and you missed on Pete Alonso. I ended up getting Jeff McNeil, and I missed on Francisco Lindor, so I don't feel as bad anymore. Anthony Rizzo. Oh, by the way, you guys noticed the pink color, right? The pink hues here. It is Valentine's Day. I figure that's the color of love.
It's a good touch.
Yeah, thank you. Anthony Rizzo, that's an obvious one for me. I mean, there was nobody else left, and at corner infield that I really like, and he still can get on base. He still can provide power. Very, very wonderful plate approach. I just wish it translated to more production, more counting stats. So I'm hoping this year he'll go back to the power hitter that I envision him being. So that's enough about Anthony Rizzo. Then we went back up to catcher. And I ended up getting what I think is the best catcher in this grouping in Wilson Contreras. So that's an obvious one for me. I know that he struggles a lot as well, but I figured, either James McCann or Austin Nola, I'll just take Wilson Contreras and move on to the next thing. Sean ends up with Austin Nola, who's one of my personal favorites. I'm assuming you like him. In 2021 as well, right, Sean?
Yeah, I don't really know what to think of Austin Nola. Obviously he gets traded from the Mariners to the Padres for quite a bit of a haul, actually. So far in his major league career, he's played 127 games, 9% walk rate, solid, 21.5% strikeout rate, that's slightly under league average, and then a 271, 347, 461 slash. 17 home runs, 60 runs, 60 RBIs in 127 games. I think most people would take that from their primary catcher over a full year. So he's not anything special, but he's better than most of the other options. So, and now he's going to be in a great, really, really good lineup. So I'll take it there.
Moving on to James McCann. We talked about him
a lot.
So now Jacob gets to chime in. What do you think about that one, Jacob?
I honestly, I've liked the move, and like Sean said, he's, same thing with what's his name, Nola. He's gonna be in a good lineup, which is gonna help him out, and you're not gonna expect much out of him. But full season, he'll give me about 12 to 15 home runs, maybe 60 RB. I think he'll pretty much give us the same that Buffalo did. That's Wilson Ramos. For the non-Met fans. But yeah, I think he'll give us pretty much the same production, a little bit better. He might throw out a few, but fantasy purposes doesn't matter. But he'll get me 260 average, like I said, 12 to 15, 55 to 60 RBIs, and I'm fine with that. That's fine.
I almost went James McCann. I really did, but I was really worried because while his offense has taken a step up, that strikeout rate is still ever present. He still is bad against right-handed pitching. I think we're going to see an offensive drop-off between Ramos and McCann, even though McCann technically has been better the last 2 years. I mean, I think we sleep on Wilson Ramos. He had that 26-game hit streak at the end of 2019. In 4 of the games, he came off the bench. He was a pinch hitter. It was amazing. But James McCann is a lefty killer. There's not that many good lefties in the National League East for him to feast on. So it might be a little tough for him, but as long as he's better than damn Wilson Ramos behind the plate, we'll be okay. But if for fantasy purposes, he's going to get a lot of the playing time. And that's like the name of the game when it comes to catchers, as Felipe always likes to remind me with Salvador Perez. Playing time is the name of the game at catcher, and James McCann is going to get a lot of it, probably more than Austin Nola and Wilson Contreras, I bet.
Moving on, and then Jacob went ahead and got Eric Hosmer as well. We mentioned him already earlier this show, right? Good year, bad year, right? That's him.
Yep.
Yep. There you go.
Okay.
He finally fixed his launch angle
So,
problem,
go ahead.
and then
He
it kind of came back at the end of the year, so I'm a little worried.
But yeah, he'll still get. He's that 280 hitter.
He's going to be a product of that lineup. If he's hitting anywhere
absolutely.
near guys like Tommy Pham, Tatis, he's just going to rake in runs and RBIs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then he took my guy Dominic Smith. I want to smack it, but
I mean, Jacob,
I don't know.
You had your chance.
I know, but that's
what do you mean you don't know?
No. This is the thing about it. I was thinking like, oh man, I want to pick Don Smith, but where's he gonna play? Like, there's so many reports out there. We don't know if he's actually gonna start. Nemo, he might play left. He might play center. You got Albert Amora. You just don't know. I don't know what kind of playing time he's gonna get. And I know Eric Hosmer he's penciled in starting at first base. That's not even a question. And like you said, that's the name of the game. You got to get the guys when you're going to get them. But Eric Hosmer, I'm good with. Dominic Smith is going to hurt. I hope he rakes. I hope he does it again. But what can you do?
My little blurb on Dominic Smith from 2019 to 2020 with a minimum of 250 plate appearances. He has the 12th highest weighted runs created plus. He is 1 point behind Cody Bellinger and Fernando Tatis Jr., and 2 points ahead of DJ LeMahieu. He 148 WRC plus. He has absolutely raked the ball from 2019 to 2020. As long as he gets the playing time, the only issue with him is his slugging percentage from 2020 seems super inflated because it seemed like every other hit he had was a double. Yeah. I think he's going to be a more average overpower guy, which was his projections coming up through the minors, was he was average overpower. But we just need the DH, please. Yeah, please, Jobu, give us the designated hitter.
They fucked us on that one. I'm sorry. It was
Felipe, pour a little coquito for Jobu and sacrifice it for the DH.
He's like, this is too good.
I'm out. Oh, wait.
This is too good.
There's a little bit left on the bottom there. I ended up with Jake Cronenworth because you guys took all the good first basemen. So Jake Cronenworth.
People forget he has first base eligibility.
Yeah,
that's what I noticed too. So I went, and so does Ryan McMahon as well. So I could have really just gone flip flop them. Ryan McMahon is my Rockies representative, so I'm proud of that. I was able to get the guy that I was targeting all along at second base. But I'm not really excited about my infield. Doesn't look as good as yours.
Same.
But yeah, Cronenworth qualifies everywhere. McMahon plays with the Colorado Rockies. If he gets enough playing time, the only bad thing about him, Sean, as you know, he's left-handed. But so is Jake Cronenworth, so it doesn't really matter.
But that's all of, and your next pick's left-handed too, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, so, I got my Rockies representative. Jake Cronenworth, I ended up getting him in all my leagues last year. Saved my season from total disaster. Him and Dominic Smith, you guys end up getting a couple of my heroes from last season, and I had to
goes my hero.
Moving on to Tommy La Stella, everybody's favorite middle infielder in the world because they just love his the little engine that could capabilities there, Sean. He's with the Giants now, right?
He is projected to be their leadoff hitter. So anytime you can grab a leadoff hitter late in drafts like Tommy La Stella is right now, and not only is like Tommy La Stella going late in drafts, but I was reading a little article that Farhan is the Giants GM, right? Or he's like their president of baseball operations.
Something like that.
Yeah. He said he just looked at Tommy La Stella's stat line from 2020 and he couldn't stop looking at it because he had 27 walks to 12 strikeouts and over 225 plate appearances. He didn't really show the power that broke out with 2019 and the Angels, but that bat to ball ability is still there, solid on base. And if he's going to be batting in front of guys like Donovan Solano, who contended for the batting title last year, Donnie Batts and Mike Yastrzemski and Alex Dickerson, Tommy La Stella could score a lot of runs. Mm-hmm. Only issue is right now he's slated to start at third base, which would put him on the strong side of a platoon with Evan Longoria. But you would think that Evan Longoria is going to play more than just the weak side of a platoon. So La Stella can move around, but we'll see what exactly happens with him.
Yeah, because Giants also have Wilmer Flores, who could, if they move La Stella to second base, that guy.
But then where do you play Donovan Solano?
And then you have to bench Solano for whatever reason. I don't know. But I mean, listen, the Giants are an interesting team because they don't look good. They don't look that good, but it's still an interesting team because they can compete and be that pesky team.
I mean, they weren't a very good team at the end of 2019 when they went on that crazy run, which turned them into buyers at the deadline. They weren't a good team then, but they got hot enough, fast enough to convince their front office that they were. Yeah. Like you said, I think they're a sneaky team that could be a pain in the ass for the heavyweight Dodgers and Padres. Like this lineup is not anything to, oh God.
Sweep under the rug, maybe?
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's good hitters in this lineup. Yeah. There's good hitters on the bench. If your bench has Longoria, Flores, and Slater, if you have a lefty in the pen, God help your soul. I mean, they are going to come in and just crush you. But I like them. Their pitching is terrible though.
Whenever I needed a player, I just went to the Giants roster because there were plenty of guys from the Giants, and Dickerson was still there, Slater was still there, Longoria. I ended up in our baseball life league. He ended up.
Longoria didn't get picked, he got picked by Jacob, but he kind of had a resurgence last year. He hit the ball insanely hard. He had the highest expected WOBA since 2014 or something crazy.
Yeah, he ended up on my team for a couple of weeks before I dropped him for Ke'Bryan Hayes at the end of the year so I can get a younger player. But no, I mean, the Giants were a very sneaky, productive team, especially in fantasy late in the year. Dylan Moore, and speaking of the Giants, here's Brandon Crawford as well.
Man.
Go ahead, Jacob.
I went to the bottom of the garbage for that. It hurt me. I'm just looking. I'm trying to think of the teams, and then my brain exploded. I'm just like, crap.
Yeah, same.
I guess Brandon Crawford it is. Brandon Crawford used to be a solid guy. Of course, it's all about the glove with him.
Yep.
He'll probably hit 240 maybe if you're lucky. It was just anyway, he was trash. But anyway, Dylan Moore, I like him. He's actually once Shed Long went down, he kind of got his breakout. And Scott Service, he let him rock. He could play all over the field. He reminds me a lot of Garrett Sampson of the Rockies without much speed.
That's actually a pretty good comp.
That's what he reminds me of. I don't know what it is.
That is it's Garrett Hampson is much, much faster. Mm-hmm. And I think Dylan Moore is going to hit for a little bit more power, but the multi-position, they're both steal bases. I get it. Good track.
Thank you. But yeah, I like it. And plus he's going to have a lot of time at everywhere. So he's gonna be consistently in the lineup, and Scott Service loves him. When your manager loves you, it's kind of like a Tibbs and Rose situation. Let's cross it over a little bit. You're gonna be in the lineup. So hey, why not go with Dylan Moore? But Brandon Crawford, that hurt.
I mean, crossover. Don't you mean Stepback?
Hey.
Hey.
There you go.
Speaking of Garrett Hampson, Sean immediately picks him up. I got to get your opinion on the Rockies infield, Sean. It seems like it's a very congested infield. Would you agree with that statement, or do you see Hampson and McMahon being the future there?
With Arenado and Murphy gone, it looks like those two positions are going to be filled. Trevor Story is, for the time being, still at shortstop. Garrett Hampson in the minors was so good, and people are just he had very high on base percentages, drew a lot of walks, and just stole an ungodly amount of bases. And everyone just sees that potential in Garrett Hampson. He doesn't hit the ball hard. He's never really hit the ball hard, but he's fast as all get out. Ryan McMahon, I think, is going to take over the first baseman's job. Maybe some sort of platoon with Josh Fuentes, who Jacob mentioned in this draft. He ended up not being drafted. Maybe you see McMahon go to third. Maybe you see Brendan Rodgers go to third.
I forgot about
Garrett Hampson goes to second base. There's a lot of moving parts. Hampson does have multi-position eligibility. I expect him to have that going into next year as well. But it would be nice if they just gave him like a 60-game run of being the leadoff hitter. Like you guys they're not going to win anything this year. Just give it to him. Let him be the leadoff hitter for half a season and see what happens. Because he could be a guy who has a 350 on base, kind of like a Trey Turner. He'd be a very poor man's Trey Turner. He's Trey Turner, but 350 picks later. That's basically it right there.
And then I ended up getting J.P. Crawford. I don't know why. Oops, wrong color.
J.P. Crawford's not bad. He had a nice little breakout.
He's still J.P. Crawford, though.
Yeah, and they said that apparently he's going to share time with Shed Long at second base because Dylan Moore is supposed to be their starting shortstop or something crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, J.P. Crawford, he made a lot of good contact, or made a lot of contact. Wasn't good contact, but highest expected batting average of his career. Good defense, stole 6 bases. I like J.P. Crawford, especially in an on-base league where he walks a little bit more than your average shortstop. So,
J.P. Crawford, according to Steamer projections, 332. Actually, 332 among all the projections at Fangraphs. 332 on base is the highest that anybody is projecting him to be. Was he a former first-round pick, right?
Yes, 16th overall with the Phillies.
Yeah, I remember that now.
That was what trade sent him over there from?
Which one?
J.P. Crawford.
J.P. Crawford. Philadelphia to Seattle.
Shit.
Cliff Lee. I don't know.
Moving on.
I don't remember. Yeah, look it up over there. But I am more excited about J.D. Davis, who is another one of my favorite guys from the last couple of years. And of course, with the Mets fans, I always make sure that if there's a Mets player that I like, I got to go and strike while the iron is hot before they gets back to the Mets fans. So J.D. Davis, he was another one of those guys who I made sure to draft in almost all my leagues. I couldn't do it in my points league, but I know I did it. I think I did it in the newbie league. I definitely did it with you guys in the Baseball Life League. So
yes, I know you did. I know you did.
And I'm thinking, oh well, the Mets, they're loaded, and I mean, what really helped, and you guys, I think you alluded to this earlier, is the designated hitter with the Mets. I mean, I did not have to worry about J.D. Davis getting benched. I did not have to worry about him being in platoon or getting benched for a better third baseman, whatever, because his bat was going to be in the lineup no matter what. So I was very comfortable with that. So I'm hoping the same happens with this pickup. Sean goes with Kyle Seager, the lesser of the Seager family.
Oh shit.
He wasn't as lesser as people think. He's always been steady Eddie.
Yeah.
He's always been good for the 20 home runs and like 100 plus RBIs or 80 plus
solid,
RBIs.
Unspectacular. Solid.
In the thing that I did like about him in the short season was he really cut down on the strikeout rate and whiff rate, and he was like being more selective. And I guess some people would call it passive, and they don't like that. But he still barreled up the ball like he's always done. I like him. I think he's aging better than anybody would have expected Kyle Seager to age.
Yeah, he'll be in his age 33 season. Yep. Speaking of old, Evan Longoria. Also, we just talked about him.
Old man River.
And Jacob ends up getting him.
Poor me.
Poor you.
I like Evan Longoria. He's likable, man. You can't. But he had a little break. I mean, he came back last year.
He did.
It wasn't bad at all. He still has the glove. I mean, he'll get you. I'll say his 250. I'll be nice and say 250 to 260, and that park maybe 15 home runs between that and the road, and he'll drive in maybe 70 runs, something like that. He'll get it. I mean, if he stays healthy, because he's just past few years, and he used to be like the model of just consistency and durability, but now it's just obviously
he was the American League David Wright before David Wright got hurt.
There you go. He definitely was.
Yeah, and so back-to-back aging third baseman going, but I think I like Longoria a little bit more than I like Seager. Longoria entering his age 35 season. Moving on to the relief pitchers, we're on the home stretch here. Edwin Diaz immediately goes to Jacob.
Yes,
full advantage of that. So I take it you don't believe in the home runs that he gives up, but you believe in everything.
Absolutely not. I mean I say with Edwin Diaz, it was extremely exaggerated. Even the past few, you gave Kalinick up for him and blah blah, but he really put up good numbers. His numbers were at best, especially last year. He was flat out dominant last year.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like he started using his slider more. Thank God, because I used to yell at the TV, "Stop using your fastball. We know you can throw 97. We know you can throw 98. Throw your slider." 0-2 pitch. He's throwing 3 fastballs right in a row, and they're going, "Oh my God, he's going to force himself to throw a slider where he doesn't have any control over it on 3-2 pitch." No, it's not going to happen. But yeah, his ERA was what 1.7.
Yeah, 1.75.
Okay, so
It was, I
had
think, the second lowest. The only person who had a lower ERA as a relief pitcher was Devin Williams, and that was like
Mhm.
0.03 or
Oh,
something
that
crazy.
guy was nasty. But yeah, Edwin Diaz, he was really good. His strikeout, the walk ratio was a lot better.
Crazy stat for you guys.
Hit us with the stat.
According to Fangraphs, the swinging strike rate for a shortened 2020 Edwin Diaz season last year, 21.5%. Which
Oh my God.
Yeah, gotta love.
Yeah, so he mainly just throws the 2 pitches. And looking at Savant, they whiffed on 41% of his 4-seamers, and they whiffed on 58% of his sliders. But the biggest difference that he had here, if you go to any hot map of Edwin Diaz, he did throw the slider more in 2020, like Jacob alluded to. And he wasn't the only person in 2019 when everyone started complaining about the ball. He wasn't the only person who I think lost a little bit of feeling in that slider. If you look at his heat maps of his sliders in 2019, the biggest blob is right in the middle of the plate, which if you have a slider, that's not where you want it to be. You go to 2020, his only big hot region, and really there's a small glowing red, is all down and away from the right-handed hitter. And then there's a bunch that are all like way out of the zone. But his ball, they move so much that even if it is way out of the zone, they're swinging at it. So he doesn't even need to really throw strikes with it.
No.
But yeah, he's got wicked pitches. He was downright elite in 2020. He gave up 2 home runs compared to like the 27 he gave up in 2019 or whatever the hell it was. In one of those home runs, which was also to tie the game in the 7th inning of a doubleheader against the Yankees, it went like 337 feet to right field. Like it was the most Yankeest of Yankee Stadium home runs. So yeah, I'm 100% back in on Edwin Diaz.
Definitely.
Quickly to Drew Pomeranz, if Sean wouldn't have gotten him, I was hoping that he would have skipped him and would have gotten. Yeah, I was hoping that he. I know you like DP, but if he would have found.
Whoa!
It's Valentine's Day, yeah. If Sean didn't get Drew Pomeranz, I would have loved to have gotten him, but I was hoping he would have gotten another Mets pick in there.
Yeah, Pomeranz has been one of the most dominant relief pitchers. And now that Melanson's in San Diego, I'm kind of worried that since he's right-handed, he's going to get the saves. I was really hoping they would just give the job outright to Pomeranz.
Yeah.
But
hey, man, if you're in a holds league or if you're in a categories league like we're on, I mean, that's still a really damn good pickup.
Yeah, and I had this pulled up somewhere on one of my Fangraphs tabs. My computer's going slow. But since being converted into a reliever over the last few years, here it goes. Yeah, he has a 44% strikeout percentage, Drew Pomeranz, as a relief pitcher over the last 2 years, over 48 innings, or batting average against 157, whip 0.91, a 2.11 FIP. I mean, he's been dominant as a reliever, and he was just like a middle of the road, like bad starter. He's the left-handed Seth Lugo. Boom.
Oh, wow. Which you end up on your team, but we'll talk about him a little later.
Yeah.
Rafael Montero and Reyes Moronta end up with my team. As Rafael Montero, someone I've been avoiding in all my mock drafts. But in this one, I'm like, you know what it is, guys. It's 2:00 in the morning. The bar's about to close, and you don't want to go to.
It's closing time.
You don't want to go home by yourself, and there's that girl at the end of the bar. Like, you know what? She doesn't look too bad right now in this dim light, and that's what Rafael Montero is.
If you put Rafael Montero into a room with dim light, you want to be able to see him.
Or his fastball, apparently.
Jacob said, "Oh shit!"
Damn.
Speaking of fastball, it's 95 mile per hour average velocity according to Pitch Effects. But Montero, what I liked about him was the projections that I saw of him when I was looking this up. He's supposed to, at worst, get a 119. At best, a 119 whip, which for a guy like him, that's not too shabby. Also, 25 saves. You know what? 25 saves are 25 saves, right? Reyes Moronta is a guy that I always like with the Giants. I know that his walks, last I checked, were a little high. and there's like about a 4-man race for the closer's job in San Francisco. But I like Moronta a lot. I've always liked him. He's a guy who can get you over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. Like, again, the walks are a little crazy, but, if he is the closer, I could see him getting the majority of the saves there, well, maybe a good round number of 20.
I didn't realize how much he's pitched already.
Yeah, man.
Since 2017, he's pitched in over 100 something games and never posted an ERA higher than 2.8. So that's really good.
Yeah.
Plus, he's like 280 pounds. He's listed at 265, but there's no way. Yeah, he's huge. He's like, and he's only 5'10". Oh my God, I love it. He's like the Bartolo that actually, oh my God, is this what Bartolo would have been if he was, fat when he was young? Like he just threw really hard. Like, oh my God. Live vicariously through this guy.
And according to his StatCast numbers, he gives up a lot of weak contact, so that's what you're looking for. How's his fastball doing? I'm just kind of curious since I'm on the page.
Yeah, 97th percentile velocity. He's always thrown hard since the minors.
So there's a lot to like about him. And then you look at the competition with the Giants. Tyler Rogers, who, come on, he's not closer material.
He's a righty specialist.
Yeah, Jake McGee is a lefty specialist, and Matt Whistler. Come on, Matt Whistler.
Matt Whistler, the guy who throws way more sliders than fastballs.
Yeah,
what did he throw? He threw 22 consecutive sliders last year in a game. Something crazy. 22, 27.
They got their Sergio Romo back. Is what they got. I'm more impressed with this Andres Munoz pick right here, Sean.
Yes.
Go ahead and talk about him.
So he was moved in the Austin Nola deal from, San Diego had a lot of those arms, both in the rotation, Gore, Patino, but they also had a bunch in the bullpen. Guys like Andres Munoz, Adrian Morejon. They were really freaking good. And Andres Munoz got hurt and his command was a little wonky, but he is a guy that when you see him pitch, you just say, this is a closer. This is the guy that you give the ball to, and he comes in the 9th inning and just shuts you down. He's built like a freight truck, throws the ball insanely hard. His average fastball velocity was, 99.9 on average in 2019. He's a guy that I think people are sleeping on because he was involved along with Taylor Trammell, and there was another person that went in that deal to Seattle. And I think he's the closer of the future for Seattle. And I really like what they're doing because they're going to have a deep rotation. And now they're starting to build up that bullpen too. I don't think Rafael Montero, the guy you picked, that's a good pick, but I don't think he's going to be getting saves by the end of the year. He's a guy that Jerry Dipoto trades for just so he can trade him again in 6 months.
I'm not looking for saves at the end of the year. I just want to get off to a good start with saves.
I'll pick up on the waiver wire.
I always do. I mean, Josh Stallman last year, Trevor Rosenthal, even when he went to the Padres, he's not coming in the 8th. He's coming in the 9th, and that's what happened with the Padres. So,
speaking of, I finally watched that episode of The League. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever watched that show, but where they pick up stuff on the waiver wire, the real stoner of the group. He says, I'm going to pick this up off the waiver wire, and he steals somebody's plate of food. And they're like, Taco, that's just stealing. He says, no, I'm picking it up off the waiver wire.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Moving on. Trevor May going to Jacob along with Caleb Barragar. Anyway, I've always liked Trevor May. He's now with the Mets, correct? Trevor May?
Yes.
And then Caleb Barragar, I forgot where he was.
San Francisco.
Giants. He's a lefty.
Yes,
that's all I knew about him. I was like, the name sounds familiar, and I know he's a lefty. That's it.
So let's start with Trevor May. Obviously, he's with the Mets. Is that a homer pick, or is there something more to that?
No, I actually like Trevor May. Look, I made sure. Doing my research, his whiff rate was just very high. But the one thing that does scare me is his hard hit ball rate. It scares the shit out of me. That's all. I'm just like, maybe, but no. He's another one with a wicked slider, and if he gets it going, it's pretty much unhittable. His fastball is 96 to 97, and he'll pretty much stay there while he's in. And like I said, he gets you strikeouts, and that's what I want. That's what I want in a reliever. You get in, strike people out, just limit the home run ball. We would really much appreciate that. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. So Trevor May, I think and plus his ERA was like, what, 3.86, but that's going to come down.
Yeah, his expected ERA was about 3.3, which was actually lower than what it was in 2019.
It's coming down.
He just gave up the home run spiked a little bit, and in a short season, that's going to skew the ERA a little bit. But like Jake McGee that we talked about last year, he's one of those guys who was getting a lot of strikeouts, but when he did give up contact, it was hard contact. Trevor May is that guy because he lives so much up in the zone with his fastball. Yes. He releases it from a high point. He gets a lot of ride on it. He gets a crazy amount of whiffs on his four-seam fastball. 47%. I think it's the highest in baseball for a four-seam fastball. And he's got the good curve, but he takes on a position of far more significance after my pick, Seth Lugo, is now out. So Trevor May is instantly now the setup guy. Seth Lugo, I mean, in some order, they were 7, 8, and 9. Diaz, May, and Lugo. But now I think it's definitely May setting up Diaz. The only question is, how do you get to May now with no Lugo? Who was my pick, but I obviously picked Seth Lugo before the news of his elbow surgery. When I first woke up and saw that he was having elbow surgery, I almost said, God damn it. Because he has the partially torn UCL. And I thought that they were going to do Tommy John. And I'm like, why did you wait till February to have Tommy John? But I looked it up. I calmed down. It was just some loose bodies. I guess they'll tighten them up or something. Take them out, tighten them up. One of those two. But yeah, Trevor May is a really good pick. Seth Lugo was a good pick, but whatever now.
Okay, so Jacob, you got to explain to me why Caleb Beauregard? He's listed in the Giants AAA system. What do you see in him that I'm not seeing here? Go ahead.
One of my favorite pitches ever. The damn curveball. If you knew me back in the day, I was a big Barry Zito guy, and his freaking curveball was disgusting. And I was actually looking, his spin rate on his curveball is like 93. I don't know what drew me to that. I'm like, man, and I think he's gonna have a spot in the bullpen, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna have a spot in the bullpen because his K to walk ratio was pretty good. And plus, he's a lefty. Lefties are fun, and plus playing in that ballpark, it might play true to him. And this ERA, it'll stay. I'll say he'll stay down in maybe low 3s. Maybe he'll get into the high 2s, but I think he's gonna be really good. I did actually watch videos of him. I'm like, hey, okay, I'm liking it.
Yeah, his overall curve spin is almost 3,000, which is in the 93rd percentile.
That shit is great.
And fastball total spin, he's in the 92nd percentile. I need to dig into the active spin to see. Yeah, the active spin on his four seam is great. So he is getting good ride on that fastball. On the curveball, it's a little less so, but it's still so much that it's breaking a lot. So yeah, this is a guy who I'm glad Jacob talked about him because I would have never even thought to think of him.
It's a good sneaky pick right there.
Yeah.
And then you guys asked, for those who missed it, how do you get to May? Got to go through April 1st. Actually, April 30th to be exact. You talked about Seth Lugo. Let's move on to Craig Kimbrell. Bounce back candidate. Everybody, every podcast, every baseball podcast I listen to, fantasy baseball podcast I listen to, have good marks, good things to say about Craig Kimbrell. Apparently, he had a decent second half last year that I might have missed. I might have not noticed, but if that's the case, in this exercise, I will take the guaranteed saves with the Cubs if he's kind of back to normal. And then, but the guy I'm really excited about is Pierce Johnson, who I believe we dedicated a good chunk of time to him last year in season 1.
What did we talk about him about though? I can't even remember. I remember his name coming up, but
I know we talked about him. I'm just like you. I did the exact same look. Like why do we have to talk about him? Anyway, but yeah, high strikeout rate last year with the Padres. It seems like they found a spot for him to stay in Major League Baseball. Remember, this is a failed starting pitcher for the Cubs. He has found a new home as a relief pitcher for a very good Padres team and a really good Padres bullpen. Was it his fastball?
Was it when Kirby Yates got hurt and we were talking about closer options in San Diego? Maybe. Yeah,
maybe. I mean, because they have Emilio Pagan, Drew Pomeranz, and then they got Trevor Rosenthal. Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, that might have been it.
But yeah, he gave up on the fastball, went straight to a sinker, and mostly pitches curveballs. As his
55% curveball usage. That's insane.
Yeah. and the sinker is no slouch. It averages at about 96 miles per hour. What was his swinging strike? Just really quick, since I'm on the page here, it was 16.8%, which is a career high for him last year. Still doesn't induce a lot of swings, but when probably because of the curveballs, I guess you could see him coming. But when he's sharp, he induces a lot of swinging strikes. So that's a big thing.
To come back around to your Craig Kimbrell, he had a good second half. In September, he appeared in 8 games, only recorded a save in 1 of them. He pitched 7 1/3 innings, 3 hits, no walks, 13 strikeouts. So that's actually really good. It dropped his ERA from 9 to 5.28 at the end of the year.
Well, I mean, oh Jesus! Wow. All right. So
he was really bad to start. He gave up multiple runs in his first 4 games, gave up a run in the 5th game too.
It was painful.
So that was painful. 11 runs in his first 4 games.
Yeah, he looked like he was done, but something happened in September, and whatever. We'll see if he can continue that momentum. Daniel Bard, I'm assuming. Oh no, that's not a good assumption because you have a Colorado Rockies hitter right here. So Daniel Bard, you're the cheap saves in Colorado there, Sean.
Yeah, I was going with the comeback story. He won NL comeback player of the year. Obviously, if you don't know the story, he hadn't pitched in professional baseball since 13.
Something like that.
And then he came back. He dealt with some demons, dealt with physical demons, mental demons. But he came back and he pitched really well. I think he's one of those guys that in his off time from outside Major League Baseball, I'm not sure if he did go and work with anyone like Driveline, but instantly seeing him come back in 2020 and being in the 99th percentile in fastball spin rate, he was posting like Bauer-esque spin rates, which makes you turn your head a little bit. He's got a good arsenal. He's got the kind of that starter's arsenal at the back end of the bullpen, kind of like Seth Lugo. Mm-hmm. But I think he is given the chance to get saves again because he was effective for Colorado. I mean, a reliever with a 3.6 ERA and a 1.3 WHIP isn't something to go crazy about, but if it's consistent save opportunities, it's consistent save opportunities.
Mm-hmm. All right, before we move on to our last guy, and Michael Givens, I guess the big news pertaining to these 6 teams right here is that James Paxton came back to the Seattle Mariners. So with that being said, let's start with Jacob. Would you take a player out of your starting rotation to make room for James Paxton on your team right here?
Actually, I wouldn't.
Wow.
I wouldn't, because Marco Gonzalez is pretty much gonna I think he's gonna have similar numbers anyway. But Paxton, he was pretty, obviously that's what got him his little paydays and with the Yankees and all that. He wasn't bad, but right now, no, I'm fine with it.
And Sean, same question. Do you drop anybody on your starting 5 rotation to make room for James Paxton?
Oh, I might drop Gilbert just because Gilbert might not debut as quickly with the debut of Paxton. I know it's really ugly to go and look at his 2020 numbers and look how like the 4-seam velocity dropped over 3.5 miles an hour. And I feel like that's really drastic. And it is, but I think he's okay. He's only 32. Yeah. Right. It can't all fall apart just yet. Right.
No, as we've seen, we talk about it every single time in this podcast is sometimes older is better with starting pitchers. Sometimes, not all the time, but if you look at the list of the top 10, top 15 starting pitchers in fantasy, they're all like in their 30s, like early 30s, like nearing 35 years old. So maybe Paxton falls into that category. Maybe he has enough arm strength to stay healthy for a full
Paxton's season. Always been around 95.5 miles an hour with this fastball, and then out of nowhere is at 92.1. I didn't know it was that drastic. I knew he lost some velocity, but that is, oh God. Oh no! Maybe it gets better. I'm going to be optimistic for once. I'm never optimistic.
Let's face it, man. Seattle is much more different than Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, I'm going to put James Paxton replacing Logan Gilbert.
Yeah, Gilbert from the
Mariners. My phone a friend.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And if I were to ask myself the same question, I mean, I like my team the way it's stacked. With Joe Musgrove and Noah Syndergaard, I rather live on the intrigue of the Noah Syndergaards and Joe Musgroves of the world over James Paxton. James Paxton was one of my favorite players in fantasy a long, long time ago, but the times are changing. I want to take a wait and see approach with James Paxton. But I guess we can. You know what? I'll do this for you. I'll do this for you, Sean. I will add him to your team.
Yes.
I just Logan Gilbert / James Paxton for those who are listening on audio only. Let's wrap this up with Michael Givens with the Colorado Rockies as the Rockies go back to back in this last leg of this mini draft. Why Michael Givens there, Jacob?
He's always been a solid reliever, and when you actually show you can be solid in Baltimore, you have to be worth it. But he doesn't really get hit hard, which is big. And I think his number, he's a mid-3 guy, and I think it'll pretty much stay the same, even though it's in Colorado, because of his delivery. And he has, what does he have, like a fastball slider?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Okay.
Fastball slider change.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure about the third one, but with his kind of stuff, I think it'll carry over in Colorado, and I think Daniel Bard will be the closer, like you guys said, but I think second in line will be Michael Givens, and he's gonna have every opportunity probably to do so, and you're gonna see him a good amount, so he'll put up some numbers for you, and that's why I went with him.
All right, and that's it. That wraps it up. 60 players. We went. I think I have a bad feeling that we went way over.
About 5 minutes. We're okay.
Okay. So we went 5 minutes over a little bit. Quick thank you to Jacob for joining us this weekend as back-to-back Stepback hosts are nice enough to join us on a Sunday morning. So I greatly appreciate you guys. You guys are always nice enough to have me on your podcast. I figure I return the favor as well.
Absolutely.
And with the Mets being in the topic of discussion, I figured that that's right. I figured it'd be a great opportunity to bring in Jacob. Let's see, a podcast tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow because they're off.
Boo.
Gaunt City usually shows up every other Monday. I don't know if that's going to change in March. It better change in March because baseball season's about to get going in a little bit. Pitchers and catchers report this week. I believe the Orioles still have the early what do you call it? The early bird special, because they are birds, they're Orioles. February 16th, I believe, is the date last I checked.
Oh, wow.
The Audible also skipping a week because it's the off season. So hoping that this is the dog days. Actually, nothing. I don't think anything's happening in football right now. But I know things ramp up during the draft and during the new NFL year with free agency. So hoping that they get back to weekly basis in March. That's my prediction. I'm just predicting these shows. I don't know what their schedule is like. Wednesday, it's you guys. Step back as the NBA season is hot and heavy, and and Kenny Anderson will be appearing on the podcast this upcoming Wednesday, correct?
Yes, sir. He will be there.
And tell the people what time you guys are showing up on that day.
We will be on at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Go check us out. If you haven't, join our Ballers Life group. We got great guys in there. Sean, Felipe, you guys are in there with us. Chugging right along. We just appreciate all the love that you guys give us. When you get onto our podcast, comments, everything, it means a lot. As you take time out of your day, we appreciate it. But it's really nice, like I said, for Kenny to come on, and hopefully we'll have a good show. And everything's looking good. I was been working on surprises. I always say we're gonna have some surprise. We got one. I'm just gonna keep working on it. And hopefully this is just the start of something,
I didn't get a chance to say this to Leon, but I'll say it to you, Jacob, since you guys have taken over as admins, being the main admins, right? Because as you guys know, Henry, Randy, and I think Aaron's still an admin there. We have a lot on our plate.
Absolutely.
So when I envision you guys being admins, this is exactly what I envision. So I thank you for just taking that torch and running with it. I greatly appreciate that.
Not a problem.
As the basketball group has really molded into the vision that you guys had envisioned in your minds, and I really do greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thursday night is Corey Richmond and Jason Brooks, right? That's the second dude. The Work Shoot podcast over at Wrestling Life, and then Sunday mornings we start your Life Group podcast right here, the Total Basis podcast with Sean. We'll have another special guest next week. Who will it be? Nobody knows. We are full of surprises.
I don't know. All these guests are in Felipe's head.
No, not next week. I have no idea. Okay, you guys, should I do a sneak peek for the people, or you guys want to wait till next week?
We'll wait till next week. Make it a surprise.
Make a surprise. You gotta
Excellent. Excellent. All right, for Sean and Jacob, I am Felipe. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.